Hey, how's it going today? My original plan today was to be fishing, but it's 27 degrees, it's spitting snow, and honestly it rained so much last night that the creeks and streams are just blown out. The good news is when I got home today, there were some packages. This package should have a couple reels in it. Okay. There it is. It's a couple of the Dark Wolf Ultras. Let's open this up. I ordered these through AliExpress. Comes with a nice little bag as well. And I knew this was a very light reel. And I don't know the specs, but it might actually be lighter than that Alpha's Air that I picked up. Man, that's nice. So left hand, I think it's the same gear ratio as the Alpha's Air. So, you know, these are inexpensive. I think I paid around $70 for them. And I got two because I want to try them out in two different sort of applications. My understanding on the braking technology on these is they basically use the same braking technology as Shimano. It's magnetic braking. It's got a click and drag. Not much of it. It's not obnoxious though, so that's cool. When you're casting shorter distances, that magnetic braking is sort of a constant, braking force. And the one potential knock that I've really read on these is that they might be a little under braked. So what I plan on doing is actually see if I can figure out how to get this open. So what I plan on doing is I actually plan on modifying the braking system on these. There's a guy, Paul Gaskell, I think is his name, and he has a site and a channel called Fishing Discoveries. And he's done some testing on these, and it's what made me want to buy them. And it's actually, these are the first BFS reels that I bought, and then I decided, you know what, I might as well just try a bunch of different things and really see what I like the best. So that's two of these Dark Wolf Ultras. I tell you what, they sort of do have a cool graphic on the box. I have to admit that. It's from Tsurinoya. It's so gloomy outside that I need the extra lights on in the garage, and that one clicked off a little bit. So the other thing that came in that package was I ordered some braided line for these, two different sizes for two different applications. And the downside of this is it takes forever to show up, right? The upside is it's fairly inexpensive, and I don't remember exactly what I paid for these because I ordered them over a month ago. But basically what I got was I got two boxes of the 0.2 PE, and I got two boxes of the 0.4 PE. So it's basically 9 pound and 11 pound. One's pink, one's green. And I'm going to put those on the two different setups that I want to run. And those rods are actually, I'm going to be unboxing those today. And so we'll give this a try. But like I said, I want to say this was like $6 or $8 a spool for 100 meters. And the Verivus that I got was closer to 21, I think. One was 21, the other one might have been 29. So it's like 1/3 the price, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. So we'll see how it does. So that's cool. Got those. This is all this is. I don't know if we'll show this in the video or not, but these are basically the magnets to modify the bracket or the brakes. And so, you know, that little stretch of magnets, I think there's 50 of them in there. There's at least 25. There might be 50. And I need like 6 of them, so per reel. You know, so this is probably a lifetime supply, but it was like 11 bucks. For $11, if I can get it to the brakes to function anything similar to what the Alphas Air functions, I'll be thrilled, because that basically means that, you know, 2 reels, $11, split them in half. These are now $75 reels. Hopefully they perform at a high level. And then there's the whole longevity thing, which we won't know for sure for a while. Let's get that out of here. Let's get this out of the way. Ooh. Let's do this before we do the rods. This was a bit of an impulse buy. You know, believe it or not, a lot of the other stuff that I do is, it's sort of planned out. You know, I do have a little bit of a strategy, but this, I bought this in response to tying my first FG knots on on my first BFS rods. So, you know, on my spinning gear for the last several years, I'd been using a double uni knot to put leader to braid. I'd really, you know, fallen in love with braid the last several years, and it just, I don't know, it just performs better for the way that I fish. You know, there's a lot of finesse fishing stuff, and the braid, it floats, it's easier to see the strikes. But I do run a fluoro leader. I've never tried straight braid, and I think I will try that a few times this year. But when you get to BFS gear, you know, the rods have like there's micro guides, and, you know, essentially, you know, on spinning, I was essentially leaving my leader out a good bit. But with BFS, now you're pulling the knot that's connecting your leader to the braid up in through the guides, and it affects casting performance. So the FG knot is stronger than what I've been using, but it's also very small diameter, and it casts very well. One other knot that I was using a little bit towards the end of last year was the surgeon's knot, and I actually, for me, I felt like it was holding better. It was easier to tie than the double uni. You know, I didn't do any measurements, but I was able to break off, you know, hook shanks on my Ned rigs without that knot failing at all. And so, you know, I felt good about it, but it's just, you know, a little bit too big, even with these tiny lines. But so as I tied that FG knot, these, you know, finesse bait casting lines are super thin. You know, I'm using a leader that's 6 pound, where I've been using 12 for, the last decade probably. And honestly, you know, my eyes aren't quite what they used to be. So tying that FG knot with that super thin braid and a much thinner leader was tough. And then I saw this thing, and it's called the Knot Assist 2.0. It's basically for tying a leader to your braided line. And it wasn't expensive, but it wasn't really cheap. It was like 42 bucks. So I'm going to give it a try and see if it helps. Now, I do think that as I tie the FG knot more and more, that I would get better and faster at it. But there are times when it's just, you know, if lighting conditions aren't perfect, or, you know, if I'm using green line and clear fluorocarbon, and I'm on the water, maybe standing in a stream, maybe even just in grass, I don't know how well that's going to show up. So I'm going to give this a try and see how it goes. And if it works great, maybe I'll do a video on it. Okay, get rid of that package. Now, this is actually probably the package that I'm most worried about, because there are supposed to be 2 rods inside this package. 2. Now, they're 4-piece rods. Total length, I think, is only 4'6" or 4'8". So these are really meant to be, you know, tight stream fishing rods, you know, a lot of these little trout streams, whether they be Class A or even some of the stock trout streams. In fact, the one that I want to go to on Tuesday, I think is a perfect candidate to use a very light, small rod. You know, I'm not going to be fighting huge fish on this, but it's good for really overgrown and small water. And so if there's actually two in here, honestly, in this package with all the packaging, it's lighter than some of my old rods. So if there's actually two in here, this is going to be, I'm going to be pretty excited. And if there's not, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. And that's the thing, you know, ordering from AliExpress. Now, you know, this came from Amazon, the Knot Assist. But all this other stuff came from AliExpress. And it is much less expensive. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the quality is worse. You know, if you look back to even Japan, you know, post World War II and, you know, in the 50s and 60s, you know, Japan, stuff that was made in Japan was, you know, not considered high quality. And now, you know, we all revere JDM reels and they are high quality. And I think China is going through a similar thing. There are still cheap, crappy products from China, but there are also products that are very high quality. And I've spent some time from a manufacturing and engineering perspective in China, and I was shocked by how high quality and how effective some operations are over there. So I think, you know, over the years, you're going to get higher and higher quality. And think about it. There's a ton of products by brands all over the world that are made in China. So it's not everything Chinese is going to be bad. Now, that being said, these are much less expensive. And so I'm just curious to see how they work out. So let's open this up, see what's actually in here. Ooh. I think I cut through a bonus item. They threw a freebie in. I have to admit, it's pretty cool packaging. Well, you know, there are two rods. So they're in a nice little sleeve. Oh, and you know what? I think this will show up better here. But each rod section goes in its own little compartment. I mean, that's pretty cool design actually. That's multi-layer. So then that was the handle. This is section 2. The base section really. There's the next section. Okay, I can't get it out. There we go. Gotta grab my glasses. So this is a glass rod. It does have Fuji guides. Not that my eyes would be good enough to see Fuji, but most of the time it's going to be underneath the wrap anyway. On the rod itself, it says Windshadow. Well, let me open up this handle, and this is definitely a sort of a new experience on putting together a multi-piece rod like this. But think about it. You know, if we have a rod this size, you know, how much more effective is something like this for really hiking and fishing, and you know, maybe for some of the bike fishing that I like to do. You know, I just feel like this particular type of rod could be really good, but it's a 4-piece rod, essentially a handle and a 3-piece rod. So, you know, I wasn't really sure how good this is going to be for some of the fishing that I do. And honestly, the design of this particular one, it's a little, I don't know, it seems a little gaudy for my tastes. I mean, it's like the, you know, the gold and the purple, and definitely not your traditional rod, right? And I know some people apparently like to leave their plastic on their cork handles, but I can't stand it. I do like the, ooh, I can't say it's high quality cork, but it feels great. You know, I really don't know how to judge the, the quality of cork. So that's for the, I wonder if these just slip in then, just like a normal rod. So I feel like the challenge becomes getting everything lined up when you're dealing with 4 pieces, right? I think that, so, you know, when I talk about manufacturing and you know, techniques, there's a certain amount of exposed glass, and then there's some that's painted. I think that basically the visual is that you need to at least get that inserted past down to the paint. So I don't know if it's going to show up, but this is a very light action rod. I don't know if I can, pretty much everything's in Chinese. But this is, here, let me move over here so you can see this. So this is a, you know, pretty, if you want to call it, whippy rod. But for what it's designed for, I think it's probably going to do very well. So I'll tell you what, this is, oh man, oh, okay, I was trying to turn it the wrong way. Well, it doesn't want to move. You know, the feel of the brakes on this compared to the Daiwa, obviously it's not, you know, quite at the same level. This overall rod, you can see, I mean, it's a short rod. And so between the rod itself being short, see if I got this lined up right. Not 100% sure I got those lined up exactly straight. Looks like I'm sort of rotated just a hair. And you know, how important is it to have this like dead straight? This section here is a little off. Okay, so this is the brand on this one. It actually didn't have a good brand when I ordered it, which also, but it's Lemoren, and it's a Windshadow. So we'll be trying this out on some trout and some panfish and some small stream fishing. I'm really looking forward to getting to some wild Class A trout streams and seeing how this works out. But with that, I'm going to put it away. Put it up in the holder, and we'll put line on it here in a few days. Actually, that one is so interesting. It's so lightweight that I can't put it in my ceiling mounted rod holder because it bends too much. So I'm going to take that apart. And we'll put it back in its sleeve here. stick that right over here, I guess. You know, it's interesting. So, so it actually fits in the backpack, which is pretty cool. Okay, and then they had, looks like they sent fishing gloves, I guess. Be curious to see if they fit. You know what? Not horrible. Who doesn't like free stuff? Even if it's pretty inexpensive, right? I mean, these are inexpensive rods, so I think these rods were $50 some. So, you know, not super cheap, but, oh, and that takes me to the very last thing, is one other rod, and I just love this. Let me get it on this camera. It says open here. It's just sort of funny because here is spelled, you know, H-E-A-R. This rod's 6'5", I think. And not quite as crazy with the packing tape as the Japanese rods are. But so this one also comes in little rod sleeve. Honestly, the rod sleeve might be nicer than what I got from Major Craft. So and this one is also the same way. It's that 2-layer sleeve so that the two pieces of the rod don't touch together. So this one slides over. I sort of like this design a little bit better. Not entirely sure I love the way that looks right there. So the fit and finish here at this ferrule isn't great, and you know, you can feel, you know how a lot of rods are interesting. That's probably by design. So this rod is coated down here at the end, you know, where it's got the printing on. It's got the nice gloss coating, but it's really close to just like raw graphite up on the top. This rod is also very light. This is a very fast rod, I believe. Maybe not though. It's responsive. Let's throw the, whew. And I'll tell you what, I think it's this rod. Oh no, it's this one. So the packaging on the fiberglass rod, it's definitely got an aroma to it. Sort of a little bit of a chemical smell. Let's get the Dark Wolf Ultra, the other one mounted to this one. Now this mechanism, you know, it feels very similar to, you know, old school spinning rods here in the States. It feels pretty good. This one hits me right here. It's one thing about the split grips I don't know that I like. You know, apparently it reduces the weight a good bit. It probably reduces the cost too because it's a lot less cork. So it's good because you get a little bit of a, you know, you get a little bit more support on your arm, you know, for leverage and fighting a fish. But I will say this, that typically once you start using it, I haven't noticed it. I just wish, and I don't have huge hands, right? But I just wish that it was just a little bit longer, so that this little curve right here would actually catch the curve of my hand. I tell you what, this is a pretty good feeling setup too. So we'll see how this goes. Let's just cut that off. Let's see if I can put this one up in the storage. It's hard to do with my head here. So that one seems to fit up in the storage just perfectly fine. So that's most of what we got. There's one more package. Okay, so this package was delivered while I was talking, you know, about the rest of this stuff, which turns out to be really good because at some point the main camera had shut off. It had stopped recording, and I didn't realize it until I went to go stop it so I could go grab this box. So for a portion of this video, all you probably saw was the first person, and I'll clean that up as much as possible. But this is actually birthday gifts from my wife. I'm very lucky to have a very wonderful wife who supports my fishing problem, hobby, pursuits, whatever you want to call it. For years, literally almost the 30 years we've been married, she buys me my fishing license every year. She bought me new waders this year, new fishing reels for my birthday last year. And so this year it's just, you know, mostly a bunch of tackle that either I was wanting to try or I just needed to sort of replace to make sure I was pretty well stocked for the spring season. So this is all from Tackle Warehouse, and just go through it real quick. So we got a basically a little box for BFS stuff that should fit right inside the waders, and so I was just looking for something small so I don't always have to have the big stuff. And I'm going to try to carry a little bit less stuff, but you can see I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 boxes there. I've got a few others over on that side. So, you know, good bit of stuff. But, and then this was actually what started the whole birthday present from Tackle Warehouse. This is a sling bag. I have the backpack, and it works great, but I think this sling bag, I think it'll be better for a couple reasons. A, it's a little bit smaller, so the backpack can get pretty bulky as I'm trying to get a little bit, you know, more streamlined in what I'm carrying. Last year I did a lot more stream fishing, and so I was looking for something that, you know, I'd be able to work with standing in water, where the backpack, I feel like I have to set it down and do all that. So this is pretty cool. I'm sure you'll see it in some future videos, but it's basically got this little pocket in the front that it'll fold all the way down. It creates a little tray. Like right in front of you, and you roll it. You can wear it on your back and then slide it around to the front, and then it's sitting right like this in front of you, and then it sort of fits like a backpack on your back. I'm a little concerned on how it's going to work with the camera, but I'll work through that, and I should just be able to adjust it. And you know, if it means it rides a little bit lower, that's fine. You know, honestly, when I did a bunch of photography overseas, you know, I would wear a camera bag that basically sat right in the small of my back. So, you know, if this sits something like that, that'll be fine. And then everything else in here is mainly soft plastics and a few lures. So wanted to give the Kuying Swing Impact, the Fat series, wanted to give them a little bit of a try. Almost all of this is BFS related. Some of it's on the upper end of BFS. But again, finesse fishing is mostly what I do. Bunch of different color Ned rigs, just yoga pants, June bug, stuff for like dark colors. The green pumpkin I was about out of. These are the Z-Man smaller swim baits. I think Slim Swims is what they call them. Got those. Got a couple micro chatterbaits. Looking forward to trying these out. The hooks might be a little big for trout, but these are a little bit smaller. I have the mini chatter, I think it's called, and these are about half the size of that one. This is a new lure for me. Really wanted to give this a try. The Dark Sleeper from Megabass. It's a soft plastic that it's weedless, great at bouncing on the bottom. These are all 1/4 inch size, which is what, 7-ish grams or so. So even my the one little fiberglass rod, this rod, it's not rated for 7 grams. I think it taps out at 5. But even my ultralight from Major Craft, it's rated up to 7 grams, I think. And then the Teton that I just opened today, it's rated from 2 to 12 grams. So pretty much everything except for the lightest lures, it'll be good on that. So I wanted to give these a try. These are nothing new. These are the Vibrex, Blue Fox minnows. I can't remember what they call them, minnow spins or something like that. But the reason I wanted to try these is, as I've been looking at what a lot of the guys in Europe are using with bait finesse, there's a lure from Smith, and I can't get it any less than about 19 bucks. And it's very similar to this. So for 1/3 the cost, I wanted to give this a try, see how it works out. And then I don't want to say I was about it. I think I was out of the tried and true Panther Martins in a little bit larger size. And then just a couple more packs of the bullets for Ned rigs, to do some weedless type Ned rigs and swim baits. So, that's pretty much it. It's a big box for that stuff. Hey, that's it. Hopefully this camera is still running. I look forward to getting out over the next few weeks to really start getting out, and then once April and May get into full swing, the weather ought to be good enough that, even if it's raining, I can be out there fishing. And so, every month for the next few months, I do think I have a new rod and reel setup coming in. I won't have a lot of tackle. I'll have a little bit. I mean, you know how it is. Tackle's fun, right? But I do have about one new setup a month that I'm planning on buying through May. So that's 3 more. At least 3 more. And again, we'll just see how they all work. I'll try them different ways. I'll swap different rods if I need to. But yeah, that's this is the BFS addiction. It's the sort of the rabbit hole that I've decided to go down this year, and so far it's fun. I need to start catching some fish, but that'll come as the weather comes, and it should start next week. I have 2 or 3 days that marked out that it looks like I'll be able to get out, so we'll start getting out next week, and hopefully start stress testing some of these setups. So with that, I appreciate you watching. Once because this probably got cut off, so once I give this rod a good go and I sort of have enough to say, hey, was this worth, essentially this is going to be about $125 setup once it's all said and done. Was it worth 125 bucks? Would I buy it again? Would I recommend it? I'll link that video at the end of this one. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.